Hello friends, in the last class we discussed outline to fiber reinforced composites, which is a part of the course nonwovens and fiber reinforced composites. Today I will be discussing outline to nonwovens, and later on I will be discussing outline to technical fibers, which is a different course than nonwovens and fiber reinforced composites. The course number for that is TNL 201. So when you come to nonwovens, there is no unique definition of nonwoven available. So that is what is mentioned here, that there is no unique definition of nonwovens found to exist in the world. There are definitions from ISO, CEN, DIN, AFNOR, EU, IDANA, INDA, ASTM. So we'll be looking to definitions from this, or we'll be looking into this different definitions. Then I'll be moving on to classification of nonwovens. The nonwovens are classified based on production techniques and based on structures. Then we'll be looking into different methods of nonwoven manufacturing. Now, nonwoven is one of the rapidly developing industries. So we'll be looking into the forecast of the market size of nonwovens or the growth of nonwovens from earlier times to the maybe 2020 or 2030. And then we'll be looking into the scope of nonwovens. Now there are certain advantages and disadvantages of nonwovens, like the nonwoven process is a high production rate. High production rate because in nonwovens we obtain the nonwoven fabric directly from the fibrous web. There is no need for the production of yarn. If you consider a woven or knitted fabric or weaving or knitting, in that process we have to first produce a yarn from fiber. Then if the yarn is going for weaving, then it has to undergo weaving preparatory process. Then it undergoes weaving. So there is lot of involvement of energy, manpower, as well as material. Here in nonwovens directly you take a fibrous web, consider a carded web, and you directly bond it or integrate the structure so that it is suitable for the application that it is intended for. Then nonwoven is a highly automated process, and due to this there is very little involvement of manpower in the production of nonwoven fabric from the fibers, and it also consumes a very little amount of energy when compared to the energy required for the production of a woven fabric. Similarly, there are certain disadvantages of nonwovens. So all these things we'll be discussing when we begin with the actual course on nonwovens. Now remember, in nonwovens there are two things. First, we take the fibers, and from this fiber a web is formed. So all of you may be aware of the carded web. Yeah, so similarly we will be forming a web. The web can be formed either by staple fiber system or it can be a polymeric system, that is a continuous fiber system. Staple fiber system means it is a short fiber system. So, or a cut fiber system. So a web formed from staple fiber system or the staple fiber system web can be formed by the techniques of dry laying, air laying, and wet laying. So we'll be discussing in the details of these processes. In dry laying, we'll be seeing the introduction to the process. Then we'll be seeing the criteria for selection of raw materials which enables a particular fiber to be suitable for a dry laying web formation process. And you all must be aware of the carding process for the production of web. There's a slight difference in the production of web or slight difference in the carding process in case of the carding for non-wovens when compared to a carding for the production of regular web. So this carding which is used in the production of non-wovens is different from a regular flat top card. Like here, the flats in the regular carding machine, the flats are the parts which are present above the cylinder in the carding machine. So that flats are replaced by rollers. So it is known as a roller top card. Roller top card. So why roller top card is suitable for a non-wovens? What is the difference between a flat top card and a roller top card? What advantages does the roller top card provide over the regular flat top card? So all those things we'll be discussing. Then we'll be looking into the principles of carding, mainly the working and stripping principles. The stripping is nothing but the fiber transfer from either liquor into cylinder or cylinder to doffer. Those things we'll be discussing. Then we'll be discussing the concepts of cross lapping, vertical lapping, which is used for the web formation. So in case of cross lapping process, we can have the width of the web which is larger than the width of the carding machine. So how is that possible? How does cross lapping help in changing the orientation of fibers? we'll be discussing the concepts of machine direction and cross direction. What should be the ratio of machine direction and cross direction? So all these things we'll be discussing in detail. Then we'll be looking into air-laid web formation process, which is again a part of dry-laid web formation. We'll be again looking into raw materials, fiber preparation, and the air laying technology. Then in case of wet-laid web formation, again, there will be certain criteria for the raw material to be suited for wet laying process. So that we'll be discussing. What are those raw materials that we'll be discussing? We'll be looking into cellulose fiber preparation, man-made fiber preparation, and web forming from the wet laying process. As I was saying that the web can be formed by means of either staple fiber system. Similarly, the web can be formed by means of polymeric system. Here the web will be of that of continuous or a discontinuous fiber. So for a polymeric system, it is similar to that of a melt spinning process, in which there is a melt which is extruded through spin rate and it is laid onto a conveyor belt. So we'll be looking into two different technologies. One is spun bond, another is melt blown. So in spun bond technique, what happens is that a thermoplastic fiber forming polymer is extruded to form fine filaments of around 15 to 35 micrometer diameter. So it is similar to the melt spinning process. We need a thermoplastic fiber. Thermoplastic fiber means once we apply the heat to that fiber, it melts and then it is extruded through the spin rate, and then we give it a certain amount of stretch and then it is laid onto the conveyor. So this spun bond fabrics we will be discussing. The filaments are attenuated by collecting on a conveyor belt in the form of web yarn. That is what I was discussing. Then next process is the melt blown process. The technology or the principle involved in melt blown is similar to that of spun bond, with slight differences in it. The differences leads to the production of fine fibrous web. Any web which is having fine fibers in it will have a significantly larger surface area, and whenever we have a larger surface area, that web is highly suitable for the applications such as filtration. So you might have heard today that we are having a 3-layer mask or a single layer mask. A surgical mask which is single layer can be only of a spun bond fabric. If it is a 3-layer mask, we can have a spun bond fabric, melt blown fabric, and again a spun bond fabric. That technology is known as SMS, spun bond, melt blown, and spun bond. Now the problem with melt blown is that though it is having a very high filtration efficiency, its properties, mechanical properties like tensile, tear, those properties are very poor. So it may not be able to withstand the mechanical deformation which it is subjected to. So usually a melt blown is sandwiched between two spun bond fabrics which are usually stronger in nature. So we obtain a SMS non-woven fabric which is suitable for the filtration. So there are different combinations. It can be SSMMS or other things. So all these things we'll be discussing in detail. Now once the web is formed, I was discussing that in non-wovens two things are important. First is web forming, then other is web bonding. We have to bond, like in case of a woven fabric or in case of a yarn, the integrity in the fibers is maintained. How the integrity in the fibers is maintained in the yarn? By a mechanism of twist, right? Similarly, in case of non-woven fabric, there has to be a certain amount of integrity between the fibers. It can be either by means of mechanical means, it can be by means of thermal means, it can be by means of chemical means, right? So certain amount of integrity or adhesion or cohesion or friction between the fibers is necessary so that the fibers withstand the mechanical deformation. They do not split or they do not separate out when a mechanical deformation or stresses are imposed onto the non-wovens in the application they are intended for. So we'll be looking into different bonding techniques. These bonding techniques will bring about the integrity or adhesion or cohesion or friction between the fibers. So that bonding techniques, in that first we'll be discussing the stitch bonded non-wovens. We'll be looking into the introduction and application of stitch bonded non-wovens. Then we'll be moving on to a process of needle punching. It also comes under the mechanical entangling of fibers, that there will be a fibrous web. There will be number of fibers throughout the thickness, and these fibers throughout the thickness will be entangled. This entangling of the fibers will be done by means of a mechanical means. That is, there will be a needle and that needle will be penetrating throughout the thickness of the non-woven web. And when it penetrates throughout the thickness of the non-woven web, the fibers from the top layer will be taken to middle layer to the bottom layer. Again, when the needle is moving back from the middle layer from the bottom layer to the middle layer to the top layer. So this can lead to entangling of fibers, and this entangling of fibers in the perpendicular direction through the through thickness direction will provide the integrity that is needed for the needle punched non-woven fabric to withstand the mechanical deformation that it will be exposed to. Then we'll be looking into a process of hydro entanglement. Here again the entanglement will be by means of the mechanical energy, but the mechanical energy here will be the energy or kinetic energy of water. So we'll be looking into the introduction of this hydro entanglement principle, hydro entanglement process. Then we'll be looking into principles of hydro entanglement, that is entanglement of fibers by means of high speed water jets. In needle punching, we'll be using the mechanical energy for binding the fibers because of penetration of needle. Here it will be because of penetration and rebounding of the water jets. Then we will be looking into the properties of spunless fabric. The other processes which are used for bonding of the non-woven web to impart the integrity to it are thermal bonding and chemical bonding. In thermal bonding, we'll be looking into the introduction to the thermal bonding process. Here, compulsorily there should be a thermoplastic fiber or a blend of thermoplastic and non-thermoplastic fiber. So in introduction, it involves binding thermally to resist the deformation, that is binding thermally the fibers so that it can withstand the stresses imposed on the non-woven fabric during the application. Then we'll be looking into the principles of thermal bonding. So what is the principle of thermal bonding? The thermoplastic fibers, it should either soften or it should melt, and once softening or melting is done and we have achieved a desired orientation of the fibers, then it has to be subsequently cooled. Right. Then we will be looking into the raw materials. What are the raw materials which are suitable for the thermal bonding? The raw materials have to be either thermoplastic fibers or a combination or a mixture of thermoplastic and non-thermoplastic fibers. Then we'll be looking into the process of or methods of thermal bonding like calendar bonding, through air bonding, infrared bonding and ultrasonic bonding. And thermal bonding, it is an environmental friendly process and it consumes less energy. Environmental friendly in the sense it does not use any kind of chemicals and consumes less energy. It consumes less energy when compared to that of the hydro entanglement process which we discussed earlier. Then we'll be looking into the process of chemical bonding. In the process of chemical bonding, the chemicals will be used to bind the fibers together. There are two fibers and suppose you impart a binding chemical between them, then that will lead to a adhesion between the fibers which will enable them to withstand the mechanical deformation that will be exerted on the fibers during application. So there are different types of chemical that are used like vinyl polymers and copolymers, acrylic ester polymers and copolymers, rubber and synthetic rubber, natural binders, and also starch is used for binding the fibers in the web. So all these things we'll be discussing. And then we'll be discussing the mechanical of chemical bonding. See, all these polymers are low viscosity polymers. That is, if you take a non-woven fabric and if you simply pour these polymers onto it, because of its lower viscosity, the polymer will penetrate or percolate throughout the thickness in between the fibers, and when we allow it to solidify, we'll be obtaining the integrity in the non-woven fabric which is desired for it to withstand the stresses that are imposed on it for the application that it is intended. Is it clear? So after that we'll be discussing on effect of process variables. Like now we have seen different bonding techniques like in needle punching, hydro entangling, right? So there are different process parameters. When we change these process parameters, the properties of the needle punched fabric or a hydro entangled fabric or a spun bond fabric will change. The properties of the non-woven fabric produced by that particular bonding process will change. There will be change in its air permeability, there will be change in its water permeability, there will be change in its filtration efficiency, there will be change in its mechanical properties, there will be change in its GSM. So many things will be changing, right? So like if it is a spun bond process, in spun bond process we'll be discussing into operating variables in the spun bond process like polymer throughput rate, polymer melting temperature, quench air velocity, lay down velocity, and then we'll be discussing into structure and properties of spun bond fabric. So all these process parameters will be having the effect on the finally produced non-woven fabric, on its physical properties, on its chemical properties, on its mechanical properties. So all these things we'll be discussing. Then needle punching. In needle punching, what are the process variables? Like there is depth of penetration and punch density. How many number of punches are present per centimeter square in the needle? in the non-woven fabric. Similarly, we'll be discussing the variability in the needle design and its selection, and we'll be looking into the details of needle punching technology. Then we'll be looking into the hydro entangling process. Like any fiber cannot be used for the hydro entanglement process. It should have a lower flexural rigidity and it should be a hydrophilic fiber. So these two are the criteria for the selection of fibers for the process of hydro entanglement. Then we'll be looking into the different process variables for hydro entanglement process, like there is specific energy, jet impact force, discharge coefficient, breakup length of jet. So if we vary these parameters, the properties of the non-woven fabric produced will be varying. Similarly, it will also have a cost impact on the process. It will affect the energy consumed by the process. So all these parameters will be looking into on its effect onto the non-woven produced fabric. Then for the effect of process variables on thermal bonding and chemical bonding, we'll be looking into, as I've already discussed, for the thermal bonding process, the raw material should be a thermoplastic fiber or its blend. Then the process variables in thermal bonding process are calendar bonding, true thickness air bonding, infrared bonding, and ultrasonic bonding. So all these processes we'll be discussing in detail. Similarly, in chemical bonding, there are different methods like saturation, foam, spray, and print bonding methods. So all these things we'll be discussing. So initially we'll be looking into how the web is formed. Then we'll be looking into how the web is bonded. And once we have seen how the web is formed and how the web is bonded, we will be seeing the effect of process variables of the bonding or the web laying on the properties of the ultimately produced non-woven fabric. Is it clear? So this is all non-woven fabrics. After that, we'll be discussing on the outline of technical fibers. It is altogether a different course. The course has the number of TNL 201. See, I will be discussing on both the courses of non-wovens and reinforced composites, which is a single course, and technical fibers as the other course. There are certain number of lectures allotted to technical fibers and certain number of lectures allotted to non-woven and fiber reinforced composite. What I will be doing is that initially in all the lectures of technical fibers as well as of non-woven and fiber reinforced composites, I will be discussing all the lectures will be dedicated to discussion on composites. Once composite part is completed, all the lectures will be focusing on non-wovens, and finally all the lectures will be devoted to technical fibers. So today I will just be discussing into the outline of the technical fibers. So initially in the technical fibers, we'll be looking into what is the difference between a technical fiber and a commodity fiber. The commodity fiber or the fibers which we use in our regular day-to-day life. So what is the difference between a technical fiber and a commodity fiber? Like a commodity fiber is volume driven. You have to produce it in large quantities and it is price oriented. We have to reduce its cost and thereby we try to maximize its production. But when you consider a technical fiber, the technical fiber is not produced in abundant quantity. It is produced as per the requirement, as per the order, as per the application, right? And it is technically oriented. Cost does not matter in technical fiber. Suppose you are using a fiber for an aerospace application. There the cost is a secondary thing. Performance is the primary thing. Like if a fiber fails in its application for aerospace, then that can lead to fatality of lives, right? So there is no compromise there, and performance driven fibers are the technical fibers. The technical fibers are also known as high performance fibers. Then we'll be looking into various type of technical fibers like high strength and high modulus fibers, like carbon and ultra high molecular weight polyethylene fibers are high strength, high modulus fibers. Thermal and chemical resistant fibers, here we can have PBI and PBO fibers. Then inorganic fibers we'll be discussing like glass and ceramic. Then elastomeric fibers, lyocell fibers, fibers for medical applications like biodegradable PLA. PLA is polylactic acid. Then absorbent fibers. We'll be looking into smart and functional fibers like stimuli fibers, hollow fibers, bicomponent fibers, electrospun nanofibers. And then we'll be looking into classification of technical fibers. It is classified based on the performance of it is classified based on the performance properties and based on the nature of bonding. Finally, we'll be looking into methods of manufacturing polyester, polyamide, and polypropylene as technical fibers. So once we have discussed in brief about the technical fibers, then we'll be going into certain number of fibers in depth. So we'll be looking into the production of the fibers, we'll be looking into the mechanical properties of the fibers, we'll be looking into the chemical properties of the fibers, then we'll be looking into the applications of the fibers, then we'll be comparing different fibers for their strength, for their modulus, for their density, for their chemical resistance, for their fatigue properties, for their thermal conductivity, for their electrical conductivity, right? So then we will be deciding what fiber is suitable for what application, and cost is another one of the important parameter which has to be considered. So we'll be discussing in detail regarding the carbon fibers. The carbon fibers are finding increased applications in the arena of aerospace, automobile, and spacecrafts. The carbon fibers can provide similar properties to that of steel, like similar modulus to that of steel, but at a much lower density. The steel may have a modulus of around 200 to 250 gigapascal. The carbon fibers can provide much higher modulus than steel and at a much lower weight. The density of steel fiber is 1.5 gram per cc and density of steel is around 7 gram per cc. So at a lighter weight, we can obtain much better tensile strength and much better tensile modulus when compared to that of steel. Similarly, we'll be looking into aramide fibers. The aramide fibers are finding high applications in the area of bulletproof vest, which is a soft body armor. Again, they are finding applications into fire protective clothing, like Nomex is the fiber which is used in fire protective clothing. Then we'll be looking into physical and chemical characteristics and applications based on the characteristics of the fibers. Then we'll be looking into high performance polyethylene, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene fiber, which is very light fiber and very strong fiber. Its density is lower than that of the water. Then we'll be looking into fully aromatic polyester fibers, their physical and chemical characteristics and application based on the characteristics of the fiber. Similarly, we'll be looking into PBI and PBO fibers, which are high temperature resistant fibers. We'll be looking into physical and chemical characteristics and applications based on the characteristics of the fibers. Then I'll be discussing on glass and ceramic fibers. So these are inorganic fibers. Remember, glass and carbon fibers are finding wide scale applications in the arena of composites. In that also, the glass fibers have a significant advantage in terms of cost when compared to that of carbon fibers. Yes, there are difference in properties, like carbon fibers will be having higher strength and modulus as compared to that of glass fibers. The carbon fibers will be having better fatigue properties to that of glass fibers. The carbon fibers will be having higher thermal conductivity when compared to that of glass fibers. It will be having higher electrical conductivity to that of the glass fiber. So glass fibers are finding applications as insulators also. So we'll be looking into these details. Then there are various types of glass we'll be looking, like there is a C glass, there is a E glass, there is a S glass, there is a D glass, there is a S2 glass, there is a R glass. So we'll be looking into mostly E glass, which is 99% of the glass fibers are produced with the combination of the E glass composition. Then we'll be looking into ceramic fibers, types of glass and ceramic fibers and their composition, physical and chemical characteristics and application based on the characteristics of fibers. Then finally, I will be discussing on electrospun nanofibers. The nanofibers, when a terminology of nanofibers comes into picture, can consider that it is having a very high surface area. A very high surface area fiber will find a very or it is very much suitable for the filtration applications. So all these things will be looking into details of methods of manufacturing, properties and applications of electrospun nanofibers. Okay, thank you.